Hello, all listeners, and welcome to Resilient Voices in Leadership and Life, a space for honest conversation about resilience, how that shows up in leadership, personal moments, and everyday life. You will hear stories about grit, growth, and practical steps you can take. I am your host, Jessica Schultz, and on each episode, we invite a guest to share a chapter from their journey. The moments that tested them, the turning points that redirected them in their path, and the practices that help them keep moving forward. For those of you who have not followed who have followed the podcast, a slight change has been taking place, and this is still a place for honest, deep conversations. But what has changed is now we include leadership as a topic, and also everyone is welcome to share their stories, not only women. But today I do have a woman here as a guest on my podcast, and her name is Maryam Jan Akbari. She's an author, storyteller, and a coach, originally from Afghanistan and now based in Sweden. And she helps women to turn life experience into powerful, unshamed stories that build visibility, trust, and impact. And she is the author of The Woman Who Refused to Be Silenced, a memoir that sparks conversations about identity, resilience, and women's freedom. And Maryam, she supports women in reclaiming their voice and showing up with courage, both in life and business. So with that said, we're going to explore more. So with that just said, let's just dive in and say welcome to Maryam.
Thank you so much, Jessica. I'm so excited to talk to you. And your introduction was amazing. I mean, I couldn't even do it better.
Oh, that's good. But I think I got some pointers along the way. But we have sort of been, not that I know you so well or we know each other so well, but we've sort of, our paths have crossed professionally before. So that's one of the reasons why I felt like you were a good fit for this conversation that we have here. Would you like to just share a little bit about yourself and the context of your journey?
Absolutely. I am an author. I have written a book, and the name of the book is The Woman Who Refused to Be Silenced. The themes on the book is about women's freedom, women's voices, the women who have been in their whole life been silenced. And the reason I wrote it is, first of all, it's my own life experiences, how I grew up. I grew up in a systematic country where women are shamed for even existing, women who are silenced all the time, and their daily life is just to be silenced, not being themselves, and always filtering themselves. And that was the reason I wrote it, to help other women to know that if I have been silenced, if I have been in that situation and I could change and transform my life, you can do it as well. It's all about resilience, healing, and what it takes for a woman to be totally or finally free.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
unashamed, we can say.
And ashamed. Yeah, I love that. Thank you, Maryam. I think that's a very important book you've written. I think that your story is very important as and this is really what this podcast is about, to really uplift and share the stories and somehow just lead the way and show, just like you say, show that if it's possible for you in this case, it's possible for anyone to do it. But tell me, would the shift from moving country, could you have, still being in Afghanistan, could you have done what you've done with reclaiming your voice, or was it, did you have to move countries in order to step into that courage, step into that freedom to find your voice?
Yeah. I mean, in Afghanistan, I was working as a journalist. So, in some sort, I would say I was still sharing women's voices. I tried to be other women's voices and tell how women should have courage to be part of the society, even though our voices every day was silenced, was filtered, was censored by society, by system in everyday life. I would say the way that I was a voice in Afghanistan, I was writing every day. I was trying to change the narratives in Afghanistan as a journalist. But I would say those all voices was a noise, like became trauma for me. And when I came to Sweden, I faced severe PTSD, and it took me so many years to not be able to face those traumas. I would say it helped me finally after so many years to face my past, really go to my childhood and heal those layers of
Yeah, yeah.
traumas, become a voice for women in a different, like in different version
Mm-hmm.
of, okay, you have the courage, but how connected you are. A lot
Mm,
of women, they are leaders, they are a voice for so many people, for women, but deep inside is still they are filtering themselves, like there is a shame of who they are and there is a mask. That version, I was me before writing my book, and have the courage to write the book like with so much, like completely and shaming my story without any filter, without any mask. So I would say that helped me, not only me to find and again reconcile with my childhood, with that 5 years old Maryam, but also helped a lot of women to know what it takes really to find the path to real freedom, to be ashamed of who
yeah,
you are, your
yeah.
childhood, your past. So that gave me another version of, would say, courage that I
Mm,
never experienced it, even though I was courageous, like as a journalist, I was
yeah,
like
yeah.
a voice. But to meet yourself, to see yourself in the mirror, be able to face yourself, be able to accept yourself when you're alone, that's something that happened after or during writing my book.
Yeah, because wow, that's just so powerful. And I cannot imagine being so privileged to have had my voice from the beginning, even though I think that even if you're brought up in Sweden or in any other Western free, for those who are listening, I'm sort of doing the exclamation marks here, because real freedom is when you can speak your truth, when you can really step into that and you have the courage to do that. I think that even though I don't share the same story as you, I think that I still have uh, um, have had the filter on for a very long time, and it takes so much courage to really step into that, because somehow what you do, I don't know if you share this perspective or this feeling with me, but it's like you're getting undressed. You're really removing everything. It's like you're a bit naked. There's no filter, there's no shield, there's nothing when you start to peel off those layers. What's your experience about that?
Yeah, exactly. Like, I think when you start to, and what I called the concept of unshaming yourself, your identity and yourself, is we have very deeper layers. And on the
Mm-hmm.
surface, we think that we are healed, but as in the journey, the more you go deeper, you see, no, this is like there is another layer of my identity that it doesn't belong to me. And then you start peel off, going deeper, and finally you become a version of yourself that you have never met. Like, you can talk, speak, and be on your identity and your story based on who you really are. You have unshamed everything behind you. Like, everyone talking about your past, your relationship, you don't have any shame. Now you have unshamed every part of your life, and you are authentic with who you are. So it's like going so deeper into deeper layers of your identity, or the identity that shaped you from your childhood. And you start creating or choosing which identity you want to be, or which identity you are and you want to accept in your life. And that's very beautiful.
Yeah, it sounds like a journey, a process. it's a bit like you're putting together like Lego pieces. Just like, this is what I want to put in here. This is what I want. It's like, no, this doesn't fit. This doesn't belong to me. And just really a process of exploration. I think that's a beautiful way of actually framing it, because it is also my own experience going through some really challenging life experiences, was like really to heal and process everything. It was also about a difficult time in its way, because you have to meet all those, like you said, Maryam, 5 years old, and meet that inner child, and just sort of be that support for yourself that you're craving for. And so it's I think it's both a beautiful process, but it's also quite a difficult process. What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, it is very difficult. Like even facing every part of your past and
Yeah.
who you are, like it's very difficult. Like for me, it took me 10 years to finally be able to write it. Like the process of writing my book, maybe I have written it like 25 to 30 times. And every time I was going back and reading every story, and I was thinking, there is still like I am censoring myself,
Yeah.
like there is some lines, there is here the story, I'm still like twisting it. I am not really being me, what really was happening. And if I cannot, in my story, if I cannot really create it or write it in a way that happened, it means that I'm still like filtering it. I'm still not real with myself.
Yeah.
So every time I was writing and then going back to that process and reading it, and I said, oh, is it really me? Like, and every time, every time, like I would say every line I wrote was just with tears, with really like going deeper, like writing it. And it's like, this is the real story I'm writing and I'm telling. It was really difficult process, but every time that I told this story completely unshamed and unfiltered, I was feeling that like a huge burden on my shoulders was going away. Every time was like that, every time that I was writing it. And I would say like you get the feeling, like your soul get the feeling of the freedom that you have never experienced it. Like the freedom, I would say, when finally you meet your soul, like so clearly, and you know exactly where you're standing, your core identity. That is so priceless, even though you go through so much challenges, so much nights that goes with tears, with pain, but the reward is priceless.
Yeah.
When you go to the other side of the door and you say, oh my God, this is heaven. And I was like blocking myself to go and stay in the hell. That is that kind of experience you feel, and it's beautiful, and that needs courage. Like that needs courage, that needs resilience, that needs really moving forward, even though it will be a lot of pain. You just know that the other side of the door is so much peace. It's so much peace. It's so much freedom that you could never feel or imagine that there is such peace and freedom.
Yeah.
Connecting with your soul, with your core identity. And that's so important. That's why today I tell women, you have to unshame your story, your identity, because you don't know. You are living now in pain and you are just masking yourself because you think if you go to the other side, it will be more pain. You don't know how much peace and freedom there is if you just go all the way. A lot of women just go half the way and see the pain, see how much painful it is, and then go back.
Yeah.
And if we have that courage, that resilience to go all the way, we will never regret it. Just need to go to the destination.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, wow. That really, really connects to me as well. And I found it, I've used myself as well, a lot of storytelling as a method to really, when I came across storytelling, it was for a project I was involved in, and that was sort of share your story, and it was recorded, so it was like read the story, but to go through that in the process, I had to face things that I thought I had healed, and realizing, a bit like you're explaining, that I was not even close to healing. And when I got myself crying, listening to the story, rereading the story, listening to the story again, and as soon, I mean, I really go through it and just go so many layers. I think that is, I mean, it's like therapy on steroids in a way, but you do it yourself. And I think that is, and then I started to become a bit interested in, okay, so what is storytelling? How can we use that? And I found out that storytelling is used as a method in psychiatry. Children have been traumatized, that it's been used in like traumas of young children. They use the stories of drawing. And so storytelling is a known method for healing and processing trauma. Did you know that when you started to write that this was going to be so healing for you, that it was like that you got yourself into a therapeutic session with yourself and your book?
Do you mean when I was writing my book? I mean,
Yeah.
I was using like, I am a mindset and business coach, and before writing my book, I was using a storytelling as a framework to use for getting like clients, to use it like for the client attraction. We work a lot with the content curation. I think that there are different methods and frameworks to use the storytelling, but use the storytelling. I mean, there is a storytelling framework and method, but to be able to face the part of your stories that you have been hiding deep inside and you are not able to face them, that is something I use it in the method, like Unshamed storytelling method I have, like in a very structured way, that we go through unshaming every act, a very small act, to be able to create the whole. So when I was writing my own book, coming from a journalistic background, writing it wasn't difficult. I know already how to put the stories. I have written thousands of stories of women. But for me, the most difficult part was facing those stories that I was burying shame inside, that I was hiding it inside, and to be able to face them and write them, write them in the truthful way, write them as they are, not write them in a filtered way. That clicked in. That's why when I say the process of writing, I wrote it like between 25 to 30 times. It took me 1 year to write it. Was that every time I noticed that this is not the real version of the story. I have filtered it, I have changed it, and if I want to really unshame my story, I should face those layers, face those parts that is really happening. So I would say the structure really helped me when it comes to storytelling. But when you also have faced so much pain in your life and you want to just get rid of it, like it comes a time in your life you want to just get rid of it, you don't care what will be the consequences, you don't care like how much more you are going to have more pain, you don't care about it, you just want to be able to get over those stories of your life, that experiences, and be done in your mind, just to be clear that yes, this is it. And acceptance was very like essential. So I would say it helped me. The reason it helped me also was that I was already good with my storytelling, the storytelling, with the structure, and to be able to face them, that took me 10 years. That took me 10 years to stay with my PTSD. But it took that long time. Of course, it has a lot effect it affects if you know already the structure, the frameworks, and you have someone beside you to help you go through every part of your life and unshame them.
Yeah.
That was something happened for me.
Yeah. Well, it's a big, deep work, this.
Exactly.
So you said before, you said that you talked about hell and heaven. So you believe that those are places on earth, both of them?
Yes.
Yes.
Every day we live we based on our choices. Do you want to live in heaven or in hell? That is like the way we decide, we choose our daily life. If you're connected, I believe if you're connected with your soul and truly who you are, the decisions, how your day is going, is living in heaven. Because nothing else is more beautiful and than like to be connected with your soul. So every day that you are connected with your core, with your soul, that's a heaven. Like you're living in heaven.
Yeah. Yeah. That's beautiful. Thank you. Because I was just having this discussion with someone that, like, it's that we don't live. It's two different places. Like, and then talking about storytelling and the programs we've been led to believe that there is actually, this is just earth. This is just life. Heaven and hell are not part of it. But I share that belief as you. Human beings, we're such intelligent creatures, but we're also very stupid because we're the only species, as far as I know, that can actually relive a trauma over and over again, a situation that that is so hard, so painful, and we can keep going back to that in our minds, and that a lot of people do that, and then we can switch that. Once we've done it, we can actually go back to the most beautiful. We can create the most beautiful thoughts, the most beautiful experiences in our mind as well. So we have the options and the choices, but you have to intentionally work with that. So if you're not aware, then I guess that's a hard
Yeah,
choice.
exactly. It was a time I hated even my traumas, even my past. But when you heal, when you unshame yourself and your story, you start loving both versions of both pain and both now the reconciliation version. Why? Because your soul was in so much pain, but you had the opportunity and your choice to come to the haven, to come to this peace and freedom. And if you didn't have those traumas, those adversities, those pains, you would have never experienced this beautiful freedom and peace. So now when I think about my life, I love both versions of my life, even my past, everything that happened, and every adversity. Now I love that. I feel like I wouldn't experience this much of peace, and I would say like I wouldn't get this reward if I didn't have that difficulty in my past. And you only come to this realization after you are healed, after you are unshamed, after you are authentic with yourself. But a lot of women, they are on other side, they think if I go to it will be more pain, which is not, and they are still like hiding their past. They don't want to go through pain. They want to like just want to bury it. And like I used to think if I bury it, it will go away, will disappear. No, it keep coming to you. It will keep coming to you.
Yeah, it's not possible. I know that. That's just the wishful thinking. So, but I think that, I mean, what you're sharing is so important and so beautiful because, and I think as well, I mean, you can live in a lifelong, I mean, be in pain forever for your full life, instead of maybe if you start to work with your traumas and start to process those difficult situations, maybe you will intensify the pain for a little bit, but then, like you said, the reward then is to live a life in freedom, a life where you can fully be yourself and actually feel like life is blissful and peaceful and really beautiful. So I think it is one of those, I mean, you can just really embrace that hardship, because obviously it is difficult and to go through it, but it is a reward, and you wouldn't want to do without it, would you? Because I'm thinking about your story as well, because this with, and also as I know how you, and also with the introduction, what you do for work today, that actually you managed to make something out of your story. You actually, you took that really difficult life experience, the difficult start of your life, and then now you're doing something with it. Can you please elaborate a bit on that?
So the concept,
what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, the concept I use is the inherited shame.
Mm-hmm.
I work with a lot of women. They think first they don't have any shame, or there is nothing hiding with their story, but because they don't know what part of their story they're hiding, that is what avoid them or stop them to be really authentic and who they are. What I use is Unshaming storytelling. It's a structure framework. I help them in a very like a small act to start telling their story, like just like what it looked like, and then we start picking every story, every part of their life story that they think it's not even important to tell. And I bring it in a way, and I tell it, help them to be able to tell that story in a way that realize them how it has been affecting them with their life, how they work, how they function in their relationship, in their life, in their professional and personal life, even with their friends, with their partner. And I make them aware how there is still shame on that version of their story. And when they unshame it, they can use it not only for their book, for their brand, their website, anything, like whatever they want, they can use it in a structured way. So that is like what I use, the framework. But the most important thing I emphasize on is how you are able to unshame the life experiences, every part of your story you have had. That is the main work we do with the woman, if that is the question you had.
No, but there was no, I'm going to, but it was really, I love how you really explain the framework and how you work. But what really my question was, and maybe that was a bit unclear, was thanks to your story, thanks to your background, you made something good out of this. You actually you packaged your experience, you went through the challenges, you became more resilient, you were working with yourself, and then now you can stand in your own truth and authenticity, and you can use that to help other women, because you can mirror them, because you've been through the process, you've done that work, and you can help them also change their life, like here and now, like heal that, but also what do you want to do with this? How can you use your story to benefit yourself in your life, professionally or personally? So that's really what I wanted to get to.
Okay, so if I got you right, so your question is how I am using my story, life experiences to help other women.
Yeah, and that's really what that became clear to me. That's what you're doing. So if you had not, and I think that so many people forget about that, I can use, and that's why we're sitting here having the conversation. I mean, thanks to my history, thanks to my background, I am this person. I can do this because this is part of me, of who I am. Yeah, my maybe that was your gift. Maybe that was something that was given to you, even though at the time it was really, really difficult to see that as something positive. But after a while, that changed. You did the work, you look back and said, okay, thank you, childhood, thank you for this gift. Now I can move forward and help others to change their lives too.
I would say, yeah, my story And I'm sure it's not the only story that is being told. I have been inspired by so many other authors, especially female authors, that helped me go through my story and shame my identity, my story. And since I wrote the story and published the book, so many women that I never even imagined, my even friends that I have been for so many years, I have been friends with them, they never shared the part of their story
Yeah.
that they shared with me after reading my book. They messaged me, Maryam, I never thought that you have lived such life, and this is my story. This happened to my relationship. Like, they opened up in a way that I was like shocked. I was thinking, oh my God, like this was really needed. Like,
Yeah.
not only help them to open up because they see someone who has been there, and they get the courage to tell, maybe not publicly, but even to be able to share that part of the story that they have kept it because they had the shame, and be able to share it with someone else. That's a huge, like, in your mind, that's huge transformation. You have the courage to share it, to tell that this happened to you. And that made it actually my mission to talk about my book, even go more unfiltered in my social media and say, like, what was happening, like how we are women are shaped by the system, by shame, by society, and how we can undo it, how we can unshame it. And the more I did it, the more women opened up, send me
Yeah.
emails, send me messages, that because of the book, no, they could see themselves, their story, how they have been silence in their life, in their family, and how they can now start, like, to transform their life. Even if you give them just one awareness, one, I would say, this idea of being able to share it with someone else, or to just see themselves, picture themselves in that story, that gives a lot of courage to them for the next step. And that is my mission
Yeah.
for the, like, talking about the book, the story of the book.
Yeah. That's such a beautiful mission. I mean, you talk about courage, and I think that's no doubt about that this is taken, obviously, and I get that a lot in my life as well, that people talk about how courageous I am, and that somehow there's a, if you're courageous, you're not never afraid. But that doesn't make sense, because I mean, for me anyway, there are situations that I've been super scared about having to go through with something, but the courageous and risk is to push through, and knowing that I there will be something on the other side that will benefit me, or so I need to push through. So this, with being courageous, that it doesn't mean that you're not afraid, but you just decide that that's not going to stop you for moving forwards in your life's
Exactly.
work, put it that way. And also the way I hear you is that you're the leadership that you're stepping into, the self-leadership, and just make those uncomfortable choices short term, to see that this is on the other side will lead me to something, and really trust that. That is super powerful.
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree with you. I would say when I started writing the book, I didn't think like it will affect, like it will transform so many lives. I wrote it first for me,
Yeah.
just to be able to see the another version of me
Yeah.
who is still afraid, who is so much scared and so much, like, facing so much pain. But still, I wanted to be done with this much pain, with this much fear. I wanted to go to the next version of me. But then later, when I wrote the book, then I realized that this is not just my story. The story of so many women is still on the other side, and thinking that they are alone in this path. No one else has experienced it. And when they read the story of me or so many other women with the similar experiences, they can see and resonate and see themselves that they are not alone in themselves, and that became an inspiration for them, give them more courage to go to the other side of their life, which is peace, which is freedom, which is healing. That is how we have to be leaders. Like, we should have more role models, especially women are more exposed to trauma, more exposed to a systematic oppression, I would say, from the society, from the family. And we need such female women role models and leaders who can tell their story, how they pivot and how they change their life. And every inspirational story can change life. So we need more leaders who share their story and who inspires other women.
Yeah, and thank you, Maryam. You really do inspire other women, and stepping up there and really share your story. I really thank you for that. It's so important work, because I think that, yeah, and I think that we're looking back at women we've been oppressed for so long time, and tried to be silenced, and it's still going on. And I think it is on different levels in different parts of the world, but I still think it is happening all the time in culture, in families, in what's accepted and not, how women should or should not behave. And so I think it's a lot of that. There are a lot of shaming going on still. So I think it is such an important work to continue to talk about this, that if you're doing nothing illegal, there's nothing to be ashamed about, because we're free human beings. We're allowed to do and say whatever we want, as long as we don't break any laws or rules in that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Totally. So when you look back, how do you view this? Like, the chapter was quite a long chapter of your life, that before you actually face the trauma and actually start to do the work. How do you?
If I look back, like, how would I do that? Or
just when you look back at your past, when you sort of look back and what are your thoughts about it?
When I look back to my past, I see how courageous and resilient I was. How could I do that? Why? Still, when I'm thinking, like, how was it possible, like, to be that Maryam?
Yeah.
So much resilience, so much courage, to be in a society, in an oppressive society, and still be a voice for women among, like in a country, in Afghanistan, and do so much work. Yeah. I feel like, where was that spirit coming from?
Wow. Like,
even though, yeah, exactly, like, I'm thinking that Maryam was so strong. I'm so proud of that Maryam when I was, like, even in Afghanistan and in Iran. I'm so proud of that, and I love every part. Like, sometimes I think, oh, I should go back to, like, that version of, like, so courageous Maryam, and which I have now, both versions. And I have, like, in a harmony of both that courageous Maryam and now healed Maryam. It's very beautiful. Like, when I go back, look at my life, I don't have any pain, or I don't have any shame with it. I feel like now I can see it with so much clarity of every decision I made at that time. It was right. Everything I did at that time was right, and I was who I was at that time. Either it was mistake or not decision, but that at that time was right. And now I don't have any regret. I lived every day of my life with depression, because I was thinking, oh, why my past was like that, why I grew up in that way, why I was born in that system. But now when I look at it, I see it, like, perfectly. It was perfect. If I was born again, I would do it again. So that is it. That's the beautiful the beauty of it. When you're completely free and in deep connection with yourself, with your soul, you see people differently. You see your perception, your perspective change, and you don't just see it like completely in one version. You have emerged now, and you can see every perspective, every perception, every human being, why they did this harm to me. I can see their soul. I can see how they were broken, and I can easily come back to myself. Like even now I see like how I behave, how I react, it completely changed. I mean, I am human. Sometimes I get angry, I get mad, I get depressed. But the beauty of it, like before, it was so difficult for me to come back to myself, to really be able to see it again clearly. Now, even it takes like few hours or one day, but I am able to come back to myself and really like come, like get grounded and see everything that happened like with the clarity and what the reality it is. So that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, I just love this you're sharing. It's a beautiful story, and how you can look back at yourself and say, wow, that version of me, she was amazing, and you still are, but just this with looking back at yourself with awe and say, wow, did I do that? Where did I find that strength? And also what I noted is that when you changed because when you become a victim of your circumstances, that's when you've been pulled down. That's when depression will come. That's when you will live in pain. When you start to shift that into to the empowerment of actually using your story into something good, and just really forgive yourself and the people around you that they didn't know better. They had their reasons and they had nothing to do with me. So really to sort of really detach yourself emotionally from that, and that's where you find your power.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just to be able to see it, everything with clarity.
Yeah. That is so powerful, such a powerful way of using your like mindset to really change that. But what lessons or insight would you like to navigating through this? What is the biggest lessons? And that's one question, but also what was the biggest, how did you manage to go through it? What helped you along the way?
That's a great question. How did I manage? One thing I believe is that everyone has its own time. Like if you have been through so much pain and in your core, you know, you are filtering yourself, but in your core, you know that this is not the version of me. I don't want to be this version. If that version of you is not empowering you, it's destroying you, it's weakening you inside to keep quiet, to shrink yourself. You know that that is the time to change. That's the time for transformation. And for me, I think the voice inside that helped me, I knew that the version who I am is filtered. It's not when I speak, when I stand. I had something like a pain, a voice telling me that this is not you. And I think that voice like helped me to go through my healing, to be able to write, to face my past and be able to write the book. So one lesson I would say is there is always a voice coming to you, and you know it in your core that this version of you is not you, and listen to that and try to change your situation, trying to change the version that you don't want to represent in the public, in the society. And you know that the other side of the door is much more beautiful. It's so much rewarding. It's priceless.
Wow. Thank you. So if listeners could take away one final message from you, what would you like to share?
One thing I want to tell them is that prioritize your mental well-being. I came to Sweden 2000 end of 2013, and it took me about 10 years to go through my healing and really like work on my mental well-being, which of course first I didn't know. I didn't have the awareness. But if I go back to 10 years ago and want to, if I'm able to change some part of like my life, what I do is that I will prioritize my mental well-being and my healing, because it takes a lot, like a lot of the decisions, a lot of things you do is based on your PTSD traumas, your past traumas. So if you are like an immigrant woman, or you are in a woman in transition, prioritize your mental well-being, because that is the most important thing. It will affect all your like affect every day of your life. So that is one message I would say I have. Even now is not late. Just start unshaming your story with a small act of unshaming any part that still you have kept hiding. Start unshaming your identity, your story. That's the most important thing.
That's really good advice. Would you want to share just one practice for you that you use to keep your mental well-being at like, what do you use? Do you have a special practice that you can recommend?
What I do, I mean, I do daily, I meditate and I do yoga, but the most important thing that helped me to come back to my core is writing. I have a structure, like a structure, storytelling, which I call again like unshamed storytelling. I can share it with the audiences, like they are seeing us. There is a small act, like unshaming act, where you can, especially for that day, anything that has bothered you, anything that is overwhelmed you, you can, with just doing that a small exercise, you can change it, you can unshame it. And if any of the audiences are interested, I will put the link.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, I would love that. We can share that in the show notes, because I was just going to ask you, how do you do that practice? But then you got a little giveaway, which is beautiful. So thank you for that. Is there any final word you would like to is there anything else that you just feel like you want to share before we round this off?
I think the last one, the message I had was the last thing. Just just what I said.
Just what you said. Yeah, I find it. I just want to see if there was anything else, because I find that this conversation has been so valuable, so beautiful, and so vulnerable. And I really do appreciate you and that you took the time to come here and share your story. It's such
Thank
a
you so much, Jessica. Thank you so much for the opportunity. And it was a great honor to be a guest in your podcast and be able to share my story, my life experiences. And I hope I have added some value to this interview.
You have absolutely. Thank you so much. So that wraps up our conversation on resilient voices in leadership and life. And like, once again, Maryam, thank you. And if you gained an insight today, subscribe, leave a rating, share this episode with someone who needs it. And Maryam will share a couple of links so where you can get in contact with her. For everyone that are interested in your work, Maryam, maybe look at your book. But then if you're interested in the podcast, you can follow us at Instagram. The podcast is on all the platforms. So this is a space for everyone who wants to learn about resilience in leadership and life. And just join us next time for for a guest. I will just sort of leave it to that. I will actually have very soon the first man joining me talking about resilience. So with that said, just stay resilient, and thank you for listening.